The writer Geoffrey Ward once asked Billy Arjan Singh why he continued to stay in the remoteness that is Tiger Haven with no telephone, uncertain electricity, and cut off by guaranteed floods during the monsoon. He replied,
"I am the presiding deity here. Everyone comes, everyone goes, but I remain."
And steadfastly he remained there for close to 6 decades.
Indomitable, incorruptible, and sometimes impossible,
as the same writer described him, but always fearless in fighting for the causes he believed in, forest conservation and the protection of wildlife. Today, as we salute Billy's unconquerable spirit, we tell you his story. The second of 4 children, his childhood was greatly enriched by the fact that his father, Kanwar Jasbir Singh, served as special manager of the Balrampur estate, which was then the richest princely estate in Uttar Pradesh. It was surrounded by wonderful forests, filled with a variety of wildlife. "Here is where he spent the happiest years of his life," he wrote, "and here was born his lifelong interest in the wild and in forests." Ironically, at that time, forests meant hunting, a tradition that echoed throughout history and well into the 20th century.
I was a bloodthirsty, murderous urchin who shot anything that moved. Even as I grew older, I continued to shoot owlets and hyenas and leopards and tigers. I am condemned to live with my deepest regrets for being part of the slaughter of such magnificent creatures.
Nevertheless, he was a precocious big game hunter who bagged his first tiger at the age of 14. As a boy on a visit to Nainital, he absorbed even more hunting lore from the legendary Jim Corbett. He used to visit him on Sunday mornings and eagerly listen to his tales of man-eaters, villages, and tracking in the rolling uplands of Kumaon. During the Second World War, Billy served in the army. But post-war, he was drawn to an area where he could be outdoors and be his own man, farming in the Terai in Uttar Pradesh. So he acquired land and began to farm, naming his homestead Jasbir Nagar after his father. Farming wasn't easy, even though the family offered moral support. The conditions were harsh, malaria was ever present, and so were sinister dacoits. Also, very soon, adjacent lands were being parcelled out to post-partition refugees from West Punjab. Gone was the tranquility and remoteness that Billy yearned for. But a short distance to the north lay the magnificent sal trees of the reserve forest, on the southern edge of which lay a plot of land available for farming. The forest was a place of sheer enchantment for Billy. A place where there was an abundance of wildlife and bird species. As he put it,
the home of many animals in retreat from man.
While still retaining Jasbir Nagar, Billy moved north to his newly acquired farm, which he named Tiger Haven. But in a moment of epiphany, a single incident prompted a change in direction forever. He killed a leopard, and in his own words,
"Even as I watched, the fire faded from his eyes. I had brought off a spectacular shot and acquired a fine trophy, but I felt futility at the destruction of beauty and the taking of life for personal pleasure. I put aside my rifle."
The transformation, which was planted in his mind many years ago, was now complete. Billy the hunter became Billy the conservationist. Billy's first move towards conservation centered around the swamp deer or Barasingha, a herd of which lived in the marshy grassland some 5 miles west of Tiger Haven. He could see that this crucial habitat was in danger of being broken up and its land leased out in bits and pieces to cultivators. His aim was to make the area safe from such exploitation by having it included in the reserved forest. It was a long and uphill war which took years and required not just time but tenacity as well. It was a battle fought on the ground against graziers and poachers. It was a battle fought in the corridors of bureaucratic power, where the only weapons were his pen and trusty typewriter and endless letters in protest against apathy and delay. A lesser mortal might have given up, but Billy had his eyes firmly fixed on his goal, and eventually in 1968, enlisting the support of the sympathetic Chaudhary Charan Singh, then the State Forest Minister, an area of some 212 square kilometers surrounding Tiger Haven to the north was notified a wildlife sanctuary named the Dudhwa Sanctuary. That was the first battle won. In 1976, after Billy's repeated and relentless pursuits of the powers that be, the state government increased the sanctuary area to 490 square kilometers. Finally, in February 1977, with the support of the then Prime Minister Mrs. Indira Gandhi, the final notification declared the area as the Dudhwa National Park. But now, more and more, he was drawn to the great predators, leopards and especially tigers, whose numbers were shrinking horrifyingly fast. At the 1969 General Assembly of the International Union for Conservation of Nature, Billy submitted a paper suggesting a complete ban on tiger hunting. This was accepted and expressed as a crucial resolution. Eventually, and with the backing of Prime Minister Indira Gandhi and substantial funding from the World Wildlife Fund, Project Tiger was launched in 1973. Its aim was to save the tiger from extinction through designated reserves which offered the habitat for the breeding and maintenance of viable tiger populations. The tiger was adopted as the national animal of India. But before this, Billy had already engaged with another of the great cats, a leopard called Prince, a 3-month-old male cub. In his own words,
My aim from the start was to see if it would be possible to return a hand-reared carnivore to the wild. I therefore gave Prince complete freedom and used few restraints. I disciplined him as little as possible, for I wanted his instincts to assert themselves as naturally as they could.
This was the approach that Billy took for the other great cats he brought up in Tiger Haven, the leopards Harriet and Juliet, and the tigress Tara. A critical character in all these relationships was Billy's closest companion and faithful partner, his dog Ely. Billy's biographer, Duff Hart Davis, writes this about her.
Her most astonishing achievement was to dominate 3 leopards and a tiger, even though they had grown to several times her weight and size. Like her master, she was fearless, tough and intelligent, without ever being demonstrative. Like him, she loved the jungle and was fascinated by its inhabitants.
To encourage Prince to get familiar with the jungle, Billy took him out for daily walks and built a machan for him a mile away. Gradually, with Billy's encouragement, Prince learned to hunt and was able to feed himself. Then one day, when he was just under 2 years old, Prince left Tiger Haven to establish himself in the forest as a wild leopard. Billy's experiment with rehabilitation had succeeded. The next step was to find Prince a mate. Once again he turned to Mrs. Indira Gandhi for help. Luck was on his side. She presented him with 2 female cubs, whom he named Harriet and Juliet, and brought up just as he had Prince. Sadly, Juliet did not survive into maturity, but Harriet did in fact mate with Prince. Her first litter brought 2 cubs, and although she took them into the forest, she brought them back to the security of Tiger Haven when monsoon floods rose. But Harriet perhaps never really returned to the forest, torn as she was between her attachment to Tiger Haven and the call of the wild. By now, Billy was primed for his most ambitious experiment. So in 1975, he wrote to Mrs. Indira Gandhi,
Dear Madam Prime Minister, my erstwhile male leopard is now completely wild, and I would now like to try a similar experiment with a tiger, as I feel that such a demonstration would prove of value for your Project Tiger. I suggest a tigress, as males are more territorial and intolerant.
While Mrs. Gandhi approved in principle, there were many twists and turns. Eventually, a cub was located at Twycross Zoo in England. There were further twists before the epic 6,000-mile journey, spanning modes of travel from jet aircraft to elephant back, could be completed in 1976. Tara settled into Tiger Haven, making friends with Ely and Harriet. She grew accustomed to walks in the forest. She loved the river and the rides on the boat, from which she would leap off onto the bank beyond. As with Prince, her walks familiarized her with the jungle, where she marked her territory by spraying. Soon she made her first kill. Not long after, Tara chose a consort and often went off by herself to be with him. And finally, in 1978, Tara left Tiger Haven, never to return. Tara was the last of Billy's great cats. Although she never returned, he sighted her many times. He knew that she had assimilated into the wild and that she had at least 3 litters. In the remaining decades of his life, Billy Arjan Singh fought passionately for the causes of wildlife and conservation. Men of passion are, by definition, epicenters of controversy, and Billy Arjan Singh was no different. There are many questions that could be asked. Those questions will now float on the wind forever. But what will remain are the tangibles of his life's work. His unflinching commitment to the cause of conservation, his many single-handed fights in this cause, the books he wrote, which are a testament to his zeal and to his call to people for action. He was often at odds with the government, yet that same government honored him with awards, as did the rest of the world. In 2002, the autumn of his life, Billy Arjan Singh set up the Tiger Haven Society to continue his work in wildlife conservation. The vision was to convert the Tiger Haven property, lying on the edge of the Dudhwa Tiger Reserve, into a wildlife center to provide a range of facilities related to wildlife support and development in the Dudhwa National Park. Billy passed away in 2010. And today his nephew Jairaj, the son of his older brother, the late Air Vice Marshal Kanwar Jaswant Singh, leads the society as its chairman to take the movement forward. The mission is manifold and proceeds along many paths. Scientific data reveals that global warming is far more pronounced than originally predicted. In India, climate change, together with the enormous pressure of population and consequent depletion of natural habitats and resources, are challenges which impact livelihoods and raise concerns for basics like food security, water supply and management, health and energy. As Jairaj Singh points out,
India should have about 25% cover of natural growth forests, which are living environments with local flora and fauna, and not plantations and social forestry woodlands. We actually have about 5%, and the Dudhwa Tiger Reserve is part of that 5%. It is deteriorating. The reasons are multiple. There are hundreds of villages within walking distance of the Dudhwa Tiger Reserve. They all consume fuel for kitchen and require fuel for burning in the winter. All of them have large cattle populations. The inhabitants are by and large marginal farmers and landless citizens of our country with inadequate resources for basic food, shelter, medicine, clothes, and so none to really spare for fuel and fodder. Tons of wood, tons and tons of wood is extracted every day for fuel by people from these villages. We reduce the health of the forest in this process. Thousands and thousands of cattle feed on the grasslands of the forests. Herders burn grasslands to generate new shoots for fodder, and in the process burning alive small mammals and reptiles, birds, insects, destroying nests and eggs, the kind of wholesale slaughter.
this is both tragic and ironic when you consider that our civilizational legacy places a high value on the environment and the maintenance of ecological balance. For change to come from the grassroots, villages have to be persuaded to be more environmentally friendly so that the human pressure on the Dudhwa Tiger Reserve is reduced. In Jairaj Singh's words,
there are maybe 70-80 villages which surround the Dudhwa Tiger Reserve, and of those 70-80 villages, we have visited a few and we have realized that it's only the young people who can be made to change their attitude towards the forest. So our society is working towards education all the young people from all the villages surrounding the Tiger Reserve to become aware and to value the Tiger Reserve for what it is worth.
hence the establishment of the Education Centre in 2012. As Jairaj Singh explains,
our methods are 3 or 4-fold. One of them is educate and motivate village youth. We would like to influence the current generation and get them to lead the change in the next generation. We run a basic training program in environment and wildlife for children from these villages. It's a 1-year program. Once they complete the program, from these children we select those who showed interest and initiative and would like to join us and build up village level teams of young inhabitants who will work in the village and will lead to change in all the practices that are not good for the environment.
जी मेरा नाम इंद्रजीत है और मेरी उम्र 12 साल। टाइगर हिल सोसाइटी में मेरा 2 साल जाए। पर्यावरण के बारे में और जंगल के बारे में, खेती के बारे में और बहुत चीज़ के बारे में पढ़ी। वन्य जीव बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। अगर जो जंगल में नहीं होंगे तो जंगल नहीं बच पाएगा और जंगल नहीं होंगे तो जीवन नष्ट हो सकता है और फिर दुनिया में कुछ भी नहीं रहेगा।
The idea of this whole program is that we give the children a basic education about what the environment is and what surrounds them, how they affect it and how the environment affects them economically and otherwise. They're very good farmers, they know what farming is, but environment per se, there is no link, there is no connect between, there is no connect or understanding between what they do and how it affects the environment. And if it's a negative impact, what happens to them when the environment goes bad or the climate change? They have absolutely no idea. We bring in about 8 children presently. That's about 80 children per 10 10 children to a school. And we're bringing them from 8 different villages all around the world.
हमारा पहला जो है प्रोग्राम वो बेसिक लेवल का है, जिसमें हम बच्चों को पर्यावरण के बारे में बताते हैं, जंगल के बारे में बताते हैं, जंगल के प्रकार, जलवायु, जल प्रदूषण, खेती, ग्लोबल वार्मिंग, इसके साथ साथ इसका जो असर हमारे पर्यावरण पर पड़ रहा है उसके बारे में भी बताते हैं। गाँव से बच्चे आते हैं तो उनको इम्पोर्टेंस पता ही नहीं है, लेकिन अगर हम उनको जागरूक करते हैं तो हमें अंतर आता है। धीरे धीरे करके अगर हम ये काम करते रहेंगे तो भविष्य में होपफुली ऐसा हो सकता है कि बच्चे को जो है वो आगे चल करके हमारे जंगल को बचाने में बहुत बड़ा योगदान है।
And these efforts are paying off. Children from the 2013-14 batch joined the Tiger Haven Society as members of the Village Task Force for Better Environmental Practices. Another way of developing a culture for a greener environment is to look at alternatives that work. At the initiative of the Tiger Haven Society, a trainer from the World Wildlife Fund held a demonstration of zero-cost fabrication of charcoal from cane and leaf trash, a practical method, perhaps, of reducing firewood extraction from the forest. But action is needed simultaneously on several fronts. For example, regreening degraded and silted grasslands can help villages to restore grazing grasses. At Tiger Haven, experiments in regreening grasslands have attracted prey species like the cheetal deer.
We also believe that there has to be a selective intervention in maintenance of these natural environments. We have a serious problem of flooding. These floods cause siltation and there needs to be a certain amount of intervention to ensure that this does not damage the environment as it currently is doing. We need to recover grassland that has been damaged by this kind of siltation and flooding. We lose grazing grasses to floods and silt. We need to develop new practices and new grasses to enable ourselves to renew and regenerate those grasslands that have deteriorated. We are doing trials of grasses on our own land where we have a similar kind of situation with regard to flooding and silt.
For outreach and encouragement, even though funds were a problem, the Tiger Haven Society established 2 awards for the field staff of the Dudhwa Tiger Reserve, a trophy and cash. These are presented during annual Wildlife Week and work as both a recognition and an incentive. Other projects for the Tiger Haven Society are wild animal rescue and rehabilitation, where animals that are sick or hurt or injured can be brought to the veterinary center. Once brought back to good health, they will be released into the wild, their natural environment. But though the building is ready, a paucity of funds doesn't allow for activity in this area. For Jairaj Singh, funding is a major concern.
The biggest challenge we face is funds. We find it extremely difficult to get any kind of support from anyone, and therefore anyone who does support us, we feel extremely grateful and extremely happy that they are able to provide us some kind of support to do what we feel is extremely valuable work, not only for Dudhwa Tiger Reserve, not only for the nation, but also in a way for the world, which is facing a crisis as far as the global environment is concerned.
Each day, we rediscover how profoundly the issues of the environment affect our lives, whether climate change, pollution, water, forests, or wildlife. Billy Arjan Singh once wrote,
"The air we breathe and the water we drink stem from the biodiversity of the universal environment and its economics. The tiger is at the center of this truth. If it goes, we go."
This only underscores the need to ensure that our sanctuaries and national parks remain secure and inviolate, and that all support is offered to the organizations that work towards this end. The untiring efforts of Billy Arjan Singh are recorded at Tiger Haven in the library and museum. They house the books, the documents, his pictures, and materials accumulated over a 6-decade association with the region. But a lasting tribute can only be paid when, as Jairaj Singh puts it,
humankind has been responsible for the extermination of so many species, so much of our planet. It is time that we brought our intellect to bear on preservation of this beautiful planet that we call home.